Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hey, hey.
Can you hear us? I hope we're coming in loud and clear. No big intro there. Sorry. None of that today.
It's just us. Nothing super exciting. Let me
Let's
see.
see.
Hope
Okay.
everybody's having a good night tonight. Hope you're all doing good. Hope you all
I
had a great
know
day today.
it,
Hey,
it was
Sleepy.
a nice day today. It wasn't rainy or anything, so I call it a good day.
Well, I ended up on grandpa duty all day. Um,
Mhm.
right after I spoke to you this morning, I got a phone call and they're like, "We're gonna be there in 10 minutes." I got stuck doing this and I need to drop Junie off with you. And I went, okay. And that was that. So that's where I've been all day until about 2 hours ago. So I didn't get
Uh-oh.
to do my show earlier, but that's okay. That's okay. I've been looking
Yeah.
forward to this. I've been looking forward to this since last night, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've been talking about Delphi for so long and wanting to do it, and
Yep.
waiting for things to kind of calm down, things to happen, and try to get together good pieces to bring out to the community because so many are not caught up with Delphi and don't know a lot of the backstory. So that's kind of where we want to take everybody
Yes. Yes.
through the story. But hello, chat. Thank you for joining in. We're going to give it a few minutes and see if anybody pops in. Let's
I put it. I got it in my community page. Everybody, please share this out. What I want to do is to be able to split this and do a duel. I don't know because Salty's got a lower account than I do if I can, but I'm gonna work on figuring that one out. If not, I'll just link it somehow else. But either way, share it out, guys, to everybody and anybody, please, if you will.
And Sleuthy, I was telling Dago I jumped on Twitter right before I came in, and thank you for that shout out there. I saw that, girl. I appreciate that. Um,
Yeah,
and welcome into the chat. If you want to join at any time, if you have the chance, you're welcome to. But I think you're just listening in for a little while. So,
absolutely. Thank you guys so very much.
Cleveland Rocks is here. Groot, Sergeant
Cleveland,
Smell.
I love that name because I'm an Ohioan,
Yeah,
so hell yeah, Cleveland rocks. Amen to that one.
yeah. Pancake corn. Oh, welcome in. Hey, Murder Candy.
Welcome, Avery. Sleuthie's joining us. She said she's cleaning up her kitchen and she'll be joining us too, guys. You guys are in for a treat tonight. I'm
Yeah,
lucky I'll be surrounded by these awesome ladies here.
my son cleaned our kitchen a few minutes ago. Well, they cooked dinner. I didn't. So
That's what
he's
I
like, "Are
did a
you?"
little bit
He's
ago.
like, "Are
Finished
you
cleaning
gonna
up the kitchen.
eat?" Like, dude, I'm gonna clean my stuff up. So anyway, I went in there,
Mm-hmm.
put it away because I wasn't hungry yet, and they cleaned up.
Absolutely.
But I'm ready to relax, and this is my escape, my true crime escape from real life outside that bedroom door. If that makes sense.
I'm not joking with you. I've been looking forward. I've actually been looking forward to this for a couple weeks. The last shows that we did, part one of this, I guess you could say. But yesterday I was really like, I can't wait to do this. I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, you guys, if you haven't been able to tell. So I'm grateful
Yeah,
to do this.
this case is. It's not like any case I've ever seen because of all the strange things that continue to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's hard to find balance with this case sometimes between what's BS, what's standard filings, what are they trying to pull? You know what I mean? The different
Yeah.
things, but then there's a lot of things if you look that are just like wow.
Yes.
And with all the way everything went down as far as the investigation played out. I'm talking about the investigation alone. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Dago, I can take that Odinism right off the table, and there's a million other problems that I have with this case.
Yes.
And it still doesn't mean that I don't believe Richard Allen was involved in some way, but
No, of
I'm
course not.
personally not convinced that he was the only one. I believe there was somebody else. So
I've
as
always
we move through the case, we might all come to that same conclusion. You never know. I could be dead wrong.
we and that's always an option, guys. Always an option with all of these cases. But this one, I'm right there with Salty. I do believe there's at least one other, if not more, persons involved in this. If Richard Allen is the one, he's not the only one, in my opinion.
Um, yeah, and that's just based on stuff I've seen in the documents and what I've
Hmm.
not seen in the documents. If that makes sense, sometimes it's not only what you see, it's what you don't see.
Right. Yep. That is a fact. And there's so much stuff that has happened with this too. Things that have just so many things that have happened. Like you said, a lot of stuff that's in the documents and this and that. It just makes it hard to see things in a certain other than in a certain way. What I'm trying to say. So yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to stay open-minded or not. I don't know if that's the right word either, but balanced with it.
balance. That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've struggled with being balanced with this case a lot when I'm reading this stuff. And if you go back and look at how many darn press conferences and all the weird things they would say, and and they themselves said that it was still an ongoing investigation, and they believed others were involved. So hey, I'm right there with you, law enforcement. Sleuthy, I
Yeah.
don't blame you because it's nothing worse than waking up to a dirty kitchen. Oh my god, it's so
That's
annoying.
how I am. I can't do it. I cannot.
I can't do it.
I
My
do not
brain
like.
won't
Right. I don't
explode.
like getting up in the morning and doing dishes. I like to walk in the kitchen to get my coffee cup with everything nice, neat, cleaned up. I'm OCD. That's why. But good to see you, Joe. Thanks for joining us tonight, brother. Appreciate seeing you again.
And
It's a good.
Sleuthy, I agree. If it seemed they've reached their final conclusion and won't care to look for anyone else. And I think, but they claim they did look at a few others in the beginning and then quickly moved on. Um,
Yeah.
it's so but what if you go back to them, you went back to the beginning when you had to go back to find that tip buried in the pile that led you to Richard Allen. So, but they claim that nothing ties Brad Holder to this scene of this crime. So I still
He's
need
the
those
only.
transcripts. Mm.
I'll be honest with you. Salty and Sleuty, both of you. To be honest, going all the way back to the very beginning, okay? Um, and I'm talking about like Keegan Klein and good lord, Ron Logan and what is this other guy's name? I have it here somewhere.
With
Uh,
the suspects,
yeah, yeah. There's so many of them that
well, there was Klein, there was Ron Logan, there was Daniel Nations was looked at,
Daniel Nations was the one I couldn't
there was
remember.
2 or 3 others looked at. I've got, yeah, they're all in my notes. But
Hmm.
yeah, somebody in the chat asked on Twitter, I am at Salty Sleuth. I just go on there and recon and look at everybody else's stuff. And sometimes I comment if I'm bored. It all depends.
Absolutely,
Sometimes I post or repost. It depends. Did y'all?
absolutely.
Let's see. What sleuthy girl you got? See, there's so many questions because there's some holes. There's pits. There's parts I don't have documentation on.
Interview back in February
This
20.
has been the frustrating part with the trying to get information on these 3-day hearings is everybody has different notes. Everybody's interpretation might be a little bit different, and trying to get all that. And I do have a bunch of stuff from Twitter that Yellow Jacket had put out as notes that we can look at. And there's Turbo Time did a piece on the blood expert witness on day 3 testimony that I want to look at that as well. And there's still a lot about I understand the contempt hearing also happened for the attorneys for their contempt for the quote unquote leaked photo. So there was a lot packed in those 3 days. And from what I understand, it's going to be like pulling teeth to get these transcripts. So we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, yep, yep. Absolutely. I hope Mr. Steve pops in the chat. I hope he's following this tonight. If he's not busy, of course.
I let him know we were going to be doing it. So if I didn't know if he had a live scheduled or not tonight. I didn't check.
I'm gonna look right now just to see.
I'm just checking over chat, making sure we didn't see anything. Teeth cost money. Teeth cost less money. That's so true. For what I saw, that's a lot of money for some transcripts, but okay.
No, he doesn't have anything. He did one 23 hours ago. Is the last. I don't see anything scheduled for tonight at all. So we should be good if he's not busy.
Yeah, he may come in. He may come in. Hey, Criminality, thanks for coming in. I enjoy your show, by the way. I pop in and
Good.
out of there all the time. I do. She has good coverage on.
As
She
yeah.
has, to me. And I'm just going to say this because I've watched a lot of Delphi coverage. She's fair and balanced about it, and I
Amen.
appreciated that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like watching her too. Absolutely. It's great to see you in here. Thank you for joining us tonight.
as hard as it is to stay fair and balanced with this case, she does a pretty damn good job of it.
It is difficult. I do agree.
It can be. I mean, gosh, it sends you down a rabbit hole quick, But like I said, we're going to go over the community. So I'm a really big part of Dago's community, and there's a lot of people in the community that we, do true crime with that don't know a lot about Delphi because there was a lot of coverage of Idaho and other cases they were looking at, and it was really not. They weren't really consuming or watching anything to do with Delphi. So we're trying to present it. We're catching up on the 3-day hearings as we can, but we also have to present the case kind of like from the beginning to get everybody kind of caught up. So that's
Right.
kind of what we've been doing, and we're stopping and having conversations about it along the way. There are a lot of people who do know the case because they've been around it for a while, but a lot of, there's a lot with this case that people don't know, and we're not going to touch on all of it, just nothing outside of court documents and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
We're just trying to get everybody caught up that doesn't know, so that when this trial hits, everybody knows what we're doing. Um, and
Well,
they
I
have
hope we all know what
accurate.
we're doing. 'Cause,
Yeah.
it's so aggravating. There's if any criminal case needs to be tried in the light, it's this one, and
Yes,
it's hard to
definitely.
understand why they won't allow that. I think it would help y'all out if y'all did allow that. It wouldn't
Hmm.
make you look a little shady if you allowed that, because there's an absolute way to control that whole thing, and do it right and respectfully to whoever's in the courtroom. So, well, we're not gonna know.
Right. Right. Come on in,
So,
everybody.
okay, Sleuthy, he's got the missing time. So Holder was at work until about what, two, what was it, two something. But he didn't, wait a minute. Joe, he checked. Are you talking about Holder did? Are you talking to Joe? You're answering Joe. I go, oh, hang on, let me read chat. Here we go.
I guess it's not going to let me do it. Come on now.
So are you guys talking about Holder? Okay, so yeah, it didn't. So he was at the gym during that time frame. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Huh. Yeah, and so when he left work in the afternoon, he shows up later at the gym, but there was some missing time, I think. Hello, Miss
Well,
Sleuth. How are
was
you?
he was he visually seen at the gym, or was it like a scan card?
Scan card.
Okay. Well, hey, Sleuth.
Hey, and
Uh,
N-
that's
Go ahead.
interesting. No, I was
that
just
was
gonna say that's interesting.
yeah, that was twice. He actually on 2/13, he checked in at the gym at 4:41 p.m.
Hmm.
and then on the 14th, so like 11 hours later at 3:13 a.m., he checked in again, and then again at 5:50 a.m. and then again at 6:27 p.m. He
That's weird.
posted. Yeah, he
That's why I asked if it was a scan card or if he was seen in person, because that
Yeah.
almost sounds like somebody setting the stage to have a.
alibi.
Yes, thank you. Couldn't think. There
I
you
mean,
go.
that's a lot of trips to the gym in the morning like that at odd hours, but
Sure
okay.
is,
But yeah, your scan card, that's,
especially for
and
the
I
way
don't
he
see,
looked.
and
That guy should have looked.
thank you, Dago, because I was just about to say from knowing what I know of Holder, I don't see him at the gym a lot like
You
that.
know, he should have looked like the Hulk if that's what he was doing. Just saying, and he didn't. So
He went to the gym a whole lot and like never looked any different.
Right. Right. And I gotta
It
wonder
wasn't
who
working
else went to
for him,
that
was
gym.
it?
Yeah.
Mm. Well, there's a lot about his
Oh, good
stuff
point,
that
Andy.
doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah,
Very good point, Andy.
you know those van lifers like to take those showers at those gyms.
Yep.
Oh, that is a good point. I
Uh-huh.
bet they do have showers.
Yeah,
Wow.
Well,
and
showers,
three.
dumpsters.
And if you go and look at this timeline, 313 to 550, that's super interesting to me. To be
Yeah.
going and taking a shower. Um, because there was a lot of phone things happening around that time frame too, wasn't there? Because
Uh-huh.
I had the I have it somewhere, but the geofencing stuff was when I was looking into that. Um, so they had found, wasn't there phones within the geofence warrant of the phones that they were
Well, you
looking at, the 101?
Well, they didn't say, but you know what you just made me think of is that from the new hearings, that 433 ping. So I'm of the opinion that Libby's phone was brought back and turned on and put under Abby in the shoe specifically for the purpose of, after they had been staged, specifically for the purpose of them being found. I think that some element of, and
Yeah.
this is my, not expert opinion, but some element of everything that was the sticks and the way that the bodies were and how one was dressed and how one wasn't dressed. I think some of that was specifically for when they were found. And it's my opinion that the phone was turned back on at 433 and placed there so that they would be able to locate them. And I'm curious, just as a side note, how long it would take to get from that location to the Anytime Fitness in Logansport at
Yeah.
5, or what was it? So from
Pull up the map.
313,
Let's get the see what it was in Logansport. Was the Anytime Fitness was over
Hold
there?
on. I'm pulling it up right now.
yeah, it can't be an hour, right? So
No.
from 433 to 550, if he's
All right,
checking in
one
again.
All right, give me the where are we at?
There's no logical reason for her phone to come back on at 4:33 a.m. unless it was purposefully turned on.
Right. All right, so we're in Logansport going where?
Well, I guess to the High Bridge,
Yeah, to Monon High Bridge. Let's
to
see.
the Anytime Fitness in Logansport.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a minute. Sorry. I forgot about that part. I'm typing it in now.
And I saw you, Salty, get like salty about him, his alibi, and how, right after it happened and they interviewed him and then lost that interview,
Yeah, that bothers me.
they said he was cleared, and basically people were tipping him in, and they were saying it's not necessary, he's been cleared. But it wasn't until months later that they went and actually got work records for him, supposedly. So even if, let's say the work record said he was at work, you didn't know that until months later. So how was he cleared by work records? Like, you just believed him? Like,
exactly. I want to know. I would love to know how they determined that those two, Holder and Westfall, were not suspects. They were looked at very early on.
Well,
very early and interviewed. So what led you to them to start with, and then what made you think, well, there's nothing to see here?
It's funny because I often hear people say that Brad Holder had an alibi, but I don't often hear people mention that Pat Westfall had an alibi, and he did. At that time, he told them that he was at home with his son. And what I find interesting about that, and I did say, because people were talking about like hearsay and it not being allowed in and this and that, and that while that can be true, something that could be and wouldn't be hearsay would be the interviews that Patrick Westfall has done on the internet for everyone with his face and his voice. And in one of those interviews, he was telling the story about how, like, was it last year, 2023? It was, where he
Yeah.
got brought back in, and he like had to take a polygraph, and they were asking questions
Yes.
they never
Okay,
asked him before. He said,
this is a little weird. I don't think it's right, but it's from Anytime Fitness in Logansport, right?
mhm.
To
Mhm.
get to Delphi, it's saying it's 8 hours and 26 minutes.
"Oh no,
No
No.
way. That's
But
what I'm saying.
go
That
ahead.
ain't right.
Yeah, it's not that far. But Sleuthy, back to what you were just
Sorry,
saying.
sorry.
No, you're good, Dago, because this is like these are the parts that matter, you know.
Of course,
It,
yeah.
so go ahead with your thought there. I want to.
well," and this part would be hearsay in a sense, but when he's telling the story about how he went back in to interview, that his son that he was home with that day also went back in to interview, and he was like, they asked him, like, where were you that day? And Nick told him that he was at school like he is every other day. And I thought, wait, what? That's not what your alibi was. Your alibi was he was at home with you. So if he was at school, that wouldn't make any sense. Then who was he was
Yeah,
the alibi?
I watched that interview. I watched the first one, and I've watched that second one, and I'm on the fence with that guy big time.
Mm.
And there's a lot of interesting things that are said in those interviews. A lot that. Then that's what I was telling you. You know, we haven't reviewed them here yet. I want to, because it absolutely shows you what they're talking about and how they operate as far as the Odinism and the, you know, what they are, the Odinism and the heathens and all the Asatru, all that. So it's also real, and this guy is that, and he talks about it openly in an interview, and about, you know, his
There we go.
connection to Brad Holder. So,
Right.
and I picked up on some of that stuff, Sleuthy. There was like it sounds real convincing, but there's some inconsistencies mixed in. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
Well,
Okay. Sorry, guys. I knew what I did wrong. So if you took Hoosier Highway, it would have taken 27 minutes by car. If you took Indiana Route 25, it would have taken 29 minutes. Sorry about that.
well, the Hoosier Highway runs right down by the Monon High Bridge.
Hmm.
well,
A little less than a half hour.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
there's just, you know, thing in even so I still want to know why you were led to those two to begin with, and then what made you think they were no longer a suspect. Was it just based upon alibis? And did they not did y'all didn't Westfall say they got his DNA as well, and doesn't Holder claim they had his DNA?
Hmm.
I don't know if they got Brad Holder's DNA, but I do
I
know that Westfall said they did, and then they did again in 2023, which
Yeah.
I don't really understand. And here's my two things with that is, one, I don't understand, and he said it, and I agreed with him. Like, why do you need my DNA if I already gave you my DNA? Number one, and number
Right.
two, if Richard Allen is the guy and he's already been arrested, why do you need my DNA to check for DNA?
Exactly.
Obviously,
didn't.
there's DNA there that don't match Richard Allen.
Exactly. And I thank you. I've got so many video clips that I've been working on an edit for a long time that I want to put out soon. But it if you watch it and all the different statements from these very key players, it becomes very apparent to me. It did. There's absolutely DNA in Delphi, and it does not belong to Richard Allen. They got to convince me otherwise, because right now I'm really convinced that's the case.
Didn't Holder say in one of those interactions he had that they had his? That's why I agreed, and I thought that they did have his DNA, or at least he said that they did, which doesn't mean anything. But
Well, and another thing, Paul Holes, okay, is it one of the genealogical? Well, he's not. He's actually a law enforcement, but he works with the genealogical stuff. He's very, very good at what he does. He worked the Delphi case briefly. There's no They couldn't even do genealogical DNA, because whoever that DNA is not in the system anywhere, and apparently they're not in some family database like other people's DNA,
Well, I
because they
can't say
weren't
that I
able to
think
work
that's
back. Go ahead,
I can't
Sleuthy.
I can't say that I don't think that's a bad idea, because like I don't know why people are so curious
Yeah.
about, like, I'm here to tell you, you're a mix of all kinds of things. You're just a mix of
Yeah.
everything. So don't send
Yeah.
your DNA to random places that you
Don't
don't.
I don't. That's what I said. I could care less what was happening way back when. They're not getting my DNA, period.
No.
But I know that there's the one database they go to a lot because it didn't require any kind of warrants or any kind of, was it GEDmatch? So they use that a lot. But whatever there was no way for them to get that. They tried to do genealogical DNA on whatever they have there, and that was unsuccessful. That spoke volumes to me. Either, okay, this person's never been in a criminal system. They don't have their DNA uploaded anywhere, which I can see that because I don't. Um, this person is like just gone. You know what I mean? Just whoever
So
did this, there's no trace of them. Like, what the hell?
so Richard Allen's DNA, fingerprints, hair,
Hmm.
a piece of fingernail, spit. None of that is anywhere. Like, not even on the bullet. Like, how?
That's
Like,
that's a
how do
problem.
how do
That's
you
a
put
big
the
problem.
bullet in
It,
the
you,
clip
the
without
bullet's the
touching it with
big
a finger?
deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal because if you that's the only physical piece you got to tie him allegedly tie him to it, according to law enforcement. Is there anything on that bullet of his? And we all know, everybody looked into the different metals and how long DNA stays on it and all that because of Idaho. um, so who knows how long that, if there was nothing on there, obviously there's not DNA, I don't think. Now there's some interviews where Becky, Patty, and I think there might have been one more, talk about a partial fingerprint.
Mm.
And they talk about it. I think Robert Ives talks about it. I've got some videos that I need to finish putting together, but they talk about a partial fingerprint. They talk about there's DNA, but
They
there's
talk
nothing in
about how there's a
documents
bunch of
anywhere.
DNA. He said
You're
there's
right.
tons. That's like one of me and Teresa's favorite clips, is when he's going on and on about how there was multiple sources of DNA, like all over. Go into explaining that there were searchers, that they found urine, they found spit, they found,
Yes,
like, there was stuff all over the place. And I thought, oh
I
my
was just
god.
watching something about that earlier on my way home, just kind of getting some updates before I went live, and I was watching that very thing, um, about that, about how the searchers were out there, a lot of them, and then everything was contaminated. They're throwing cigarette butts down, they're peeing in the woods, they're doing all the things, and they're having to process all of it. Well, that's a lot of stuff to process, and none of it
Well,
belonged to Richard Allen.
and my question with that is the search was disorganized, right? So, like, there wasn't, from what I understand, there was, and I'll be happy to be corrected, but from what I understand, there was not, like, um, from the minute that it happened, there wasn't somebody from the police station who was keeping a log of every searcher that was
No.
looking through there, so that they could then rule out certain people's DNA when they did find it at the scene. So
From
even if
what
it
I
matches
gathered
people, how do you
listening
prove
to,
where it came from?
yeah,
Whether it came from the
exactly.
crime or that.
Exactly. You can't do that anymore because the crime scene was compromised the very minute everybody went out there unchecked. Because
Yeah.
there's a really good interview with Kelsey, German, Libby's sister, and she talks about that, about and how everybody shows up out there. Like, they start showing up, and everybody's out there, and there's searchers everywhere, and there's flashlights, and even when the search is called off, um, others stay out there and look for a while longer and things like that. So there was stuff everywhere already. There would have been really hard unless it came directly from the victims. Do you know what I mean? Like right there, it
From
would
their
have had to come.
bodies. I mean,
Yeah, it would have to come right there. And how close did the guy that spotted them? How close did they all get before everybody stopped and said, "Whoa, we shouldn't get any closer"? Where was that point? You know what I mean? Because anything beyond that, we it was a messy, like you said, it was very messy. There was nothing organized about it. But I guess when you're panicking and you're trying to find these girls. But I was something interesting I heard today with Kelsey's interview, and I don't know if you or Teresa have heard this, or Dago, if you've heard it, Joe maybe. She was saying that they were upset by the search being called off when it was called off initially, the early in the, the 11:30ish, midnight, whatever it was. Um, and something about when they were at law enforcement asked them, had the girls ever done anything like that in the past? And Libby's grandfather said no, but there was like a time they went somewhere they weren't supposed to go, and we didn't know they went. Like, they walked from one place to another and didn't tell nobody they did it until afterwards, and then they got in trouble or whatever. So after that, law enforcement, according to Kelsey, started to think, well, they runaways, and
Well, yeah.
told them that they were going to call it off because they could be runaways. But then they go back. Some of they stay out there, the family, cops leave or whatever, searchers, but then they get, well, I know where I heard it, I think. They claim the law enforcement was working during that time and they got a phone ping. And that's when they decided to go back to the location out near the Monenheim search. Had you ever heard that before, Cynthia?
I have heard that myself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just because it was odd to have a search called off like that for 2 children. I get it, dark, dangerous, and all that shit, but no, not my baby. I'm searching all night.
I want to say I heard it through. It was via an interview, one of the interviews. I can't remember who the hell it was though.
They had to have gotten information when they decided to call it off at midnight, and they said that they were determined to basically not be in any immediate danger. They had to have had some type of information from someone, like, for example, like, it would make sense if they said, well, this one time they did. And I see that in missing people cases where if you mention anything like that, you kind of get written off in the sense that, well, if it happened once, then that's probably what's happening now, which I don't agree with. But they do that. Like, okay, so if teenager so-and-so has a history of running away, it doesn't mean that this time they actually ran away. Like, why wouldn't you like Doug Carter said that from the beginning, he treated this like the worst because you have to, the worst had happened. And so then I can't make sense of why you would then call off a search if you were acting like the worst happened.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I know they call all searches after a while, after certain periods of time and things of that nature, and the weather and terrain and all of that plays a part. That felt like they didn't search a long time, before it was called off. And I don't know why they really called it off. You know what I mean? There's just speculation about it. But I was curious about, they decided to go, then they get this phone ping, and then they decide to go back out there. You truly thought at first, could they possibly be a runaway? And then, oh, we get a phone ping. Okay, let's go. There's just some crazy things that happened. And it appeared to me, because I've followed this case since it happened, since they went missing. And then all those years went by without any arrests. And early on, there was, rumblings about a crazy crime scene, but there was no real talk about it anywhere. And it kind of went silent. And then years go by, and then all this. And it's like, wait a minute.
I would have liked to have
made sense from day one.
No, I agree. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall in the offices when those three investigators, or those 3 officers that were stuck to a specific theory on this, what was being talked about between them and what was being talked about with the other people around them, and so on and so forth. I've always wondered how that whole dynamic was working out for that period of time. Do you know what I mean? Because I gotta wonder if there was things that were said that we've never heard. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I've always wondered that, for sure.
I think there's, oh boy, there's so much more on that 43-second video that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And I think Libby liked to be social, and Libby socialized a lot. but Libby was taking criminology courses. And Libby was smart. She captured whatever she did on that phone. I'm super interested in the rest of that audio. And I don't know if it's something we really want to hear, but I
Well,
think it tells law enforcement a lot more than they're telling us about why are they so convinced, guys, Sleuthy and Dago, that those girls ran across that river to get away.
I
People
don't think.
I don't think that happened.
Yeah, I don't think they did. And
I
also
don't either.
with the whole 43-second, like, I don't understand. Like, no matter what's in there, unless you see that person who you're calling bridge guy approach the girls,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to see his face, but his body approach the girls. I don't understand how you can leap to, well, that's also the same person. And it was obviously far away because it needed to be zoomed in a whole bunch. It was incredibly pixelated.
Yeah.
In order to put it out to the world. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, that's got to be the best shot that they have of this bridge guy. So, like, for instance, if he was any closer on that video, then they would have used a closer picture. Or closer video. So my thing with it, number one, is how are you going to connect and expect me to leap to that the voice that I hear is that man's voice versus somebody on that side of the bridge that they were walking
Yes.
towards, who confronted them and then told them to go down the hill.
Absolutely.
And then
Because the person in the video is too far away, in my opinion, to be heard on the phone. If you're videoing them and they're just walking along, Charlieing along there, do you hear him say, go down the hill from way back there?
no.
Do they have to be standing super close? And at that point, that phone's in her pocket and it's still on.
And something else that bothers me is, so if the guy that Sarah Carball saw that was walking along the main road is also bridge guy, let's forget the whole, like, that the description is different and this and that. Let's just say that they are, for the sake of argument, the same person. The same camera that caught these people driving by and stuff, how is there no video of anyone walking on 300 to where someone could be watching that,
right,
and get a better sense of that person's walk, and if that person has any type of weird gait, or if they look some type of way, and maybe you can catch a glimpse of something else that they're wearing, or do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and in future shows we're going to be going over some videos of the terrain there, or, the roads and everything where 300 is. So I think we had a discussion once about a camera there at the Harvester. I mean, where is this footage of this guy walking, the muddy and bloody, or anything, or anybody else's description? But didn't she come back and say that she never said bloody? She just said muddy. Is that right?
Yeah, she retracted that, I should say, and said,
I don't know if that's never been officially confirmed, though. I don't know.
Well, it's not been official. I mean, none of her statements have been officially confirmed, but
yeah,
the defense, and here's why I'm more inclined to. So the PCA says one thing about what she said, or what even, like, let's just say what even any of the eyewitnesses said.
Right.
But what doesn't accompany that is the recording of eyewitness A's interview where they're saying these things. So when I'm trying to figure out how much weight to give one or the other, when I'm looking at something else and they're saying she actually said blank, and we're providing you the video of her interview where she's saying that with her mouth and you see her face, and this is actually what she said, that I'm more inclined to believe that than I am someone summarizing for a PCA that I know doesn't even necessarily have to be 100% accurate.
Yeah. And we haven't even reviewed the PCA here on this case yet, and it's crazy. This whole case, because I honestly still feel like, I don't. It's so odd to me that the alternate suspect that was looked into looks so much like the bridge guy too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not just it's yeah. I can't say Richard Allen doesn't, right? Because he kind of does, I guess, if you throw a hat on him and he's walking with clothes on, like a jacket and stuff. But then I look at somebody else, that Holder, who does look also a lot like the bridge guy, because you can't tell, like Sleepy said, the grainy, the footage is so grainy. You cannot get a clear, and that was the weirdest thing when I saw that come out in the news when they first released it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
watching it and I'm thinking, first of all, how the hell did they get that video? Trail cams, my family hunts, we're in the woods all the time. That's all I could like think. And then I never, honestly, at first, it didn't dawn on me that child may have recorded this person,
Right.
because it had been so long before really knew about all that, right? And so when it came out, though, it was like that was the oddest thing, that all of a sudden now we got a guy walking in the middle of nowhere, it looked like to me. I didn't know much about that bridge area yet, and it was just the strangest thing. And then we get the voice later,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Yeah,
I,
and you also have to remember that. So you got the video, or I mean, you got the picture right when it happened, but you didn't get the
yeah,
video until 2019,
yes,
April
yeah,
2019.
Yeah,
So
that was
over 2
ridiculous.
years.
and that's 2 years later
Yeah.
after the murders. And that's insane to me. That blew me away. I was like, where did they just now get this? Did they just find it? Why haven't any, why would you not put that out sooner to try to find the guy, especially in a rural area, small town, where you're looking at somebody local or somebody on that highway that is long gone? That's your
Well,
only two options.
and what's interesting about the timing of that is they waited for the 2 years to put out the video, but they put it out when they also put out a brand new sketch of a brand new person, which is Young Bridge Guy.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That's why this case, it grew more bizarre with every turn. It wasn't me looking at it this going, "Ooh, what can I find here?" No, it was them telling me, "Well, no, we've changed our mind. Now this, now this." And it's like, and then you watch the press conferences, and I that one guy, Doug Carter, I can't with that guy. He bothers me to no end.
Uh-huh.
He's very arrogant. He's very
That's an
controlled.
understatement.
He likes to control the conversation. I feel like he really went to some really good courses over there at the college to figure out how to do that. Um, you're not, yeah, dude, take that shit somewhere else. I
Yeah,
can't.
he's a mess for real.
It just everything that kept going out. So that you get, she's right though. You get so 2 years later you get a video, and then we didn't get when we get the audio. How long after the video did we get that audio? I can't remember right this second. And then we get the young guy sketch long after the original sketch. And then
Yeah,
we
that
have,
was in 2019.
and I'm sorry, when the cop stands there and says, well, these two faces are going to mesh together and you'll have your person. What do you mean they're going to morph into middle?
It's a transformer.
I don't know how that works. Like, are we talking? So I don't know how old you're telling me the first sketch is, and how old are you telling me that last one is, and we meet in the middle of those two, right? Okay, gotcha. Can we get a sketch on that guy? We
Right.
need a third. We need a third composite. It is so crazy. Were you guys talking about being tall? Alan is like 5'2".
He's a
What
little
we?
guy.
Well, I think it's actually a little bit taller than that, isn't
I
it?
think he's 5'6", 5'5" or 5'6".
No.
No, he's 5'4", which is the same height as both the girls. And
That's what I.
small.
Yep. See that, Dago? Did you hear that?
Hmm?
5'4", the same height as the girls.
Oh, see, I thought it was. Where did I see that it was 5'5" and 5'6"? That's weird.
I don't know, but think about that, same height as the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
five
that
four. My
makes.
grandfather was 5'4" because I'm like 5'3" last. Yeah, 5'3". I almost forgot.
And bridge guy. I think I watched a video where somebody did some type of an analyst or analysis on that to measure that guy, and that person on the bridge was between 5'10" and 6 foot tall. Somebody told me. So I don't know if that's right or wrong, but
No, you can tell that that bridge guy walking is not a really super tall guy. I
Well,
don't think it. He doesn't
what's
appear to me to be like tall, but I can't say he's like short either. He looked kind of maybe average. Maybe it's hard to tell.
he's taller than 5'4", though, in my opinion.
I think it's interesting because now that they've had these hearings and we know that Nicole Robertson, the FBI agent that did the affidavits to search Ron Logan's property,
Uh-huh.
now we know that the defense deposed her. And what I find interesting about that is I was thinking before I knew that I would be deposing her because she wrote in her affidavit that was released by so and so's.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like, we really wouldn't know. Um, was that he matched his physical description, matched the one of the guy that people saw on the bridge, um, and that his voice wasn't inconsistent with the voice that you hear on the video. So he's like the polar opposite of Richard Allen. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's going to come into play in the sense that they're going to say, how can both of these things be true at the same time? It can't, the guy in the video can't match Ron Logan at 6 foot whatever and also match Richard Allen at 5'4". I mean, he's child sized. I am much taller than that. I mean, not much taller than that, but I'm like 5'7.5". If I walked past a Richard Allen, I might not remember anything else about him other than the fact that he was the size of a child.
He's a short guy, right? Thank you. Exactly. That's not something that's forgettable.
Yeah, I honestly don't think.
Size of a child.
And one of the eyewitnesses, who's about my height, said that the guy that they saw down at the bridge she was up to his shoulder. Her head was at his shoulder. Well, then that's not a 5'4" man.
Mm-mm. I think that bridge guy's probably closer to right.
If I had to guess, I would say
Girls.
5'10".
He's no.
That's
I
what
don't
I
think
said.
he's that tall. This guy is not any taller than those girls were. Not much taller. I just.
Well, somebody did this, like I was
Now
explaining.
Abby was taller than Libby.
Yeah, but if they took the side of the railroad ties, okay, they measured that, they measured the distance based on the photograph possibilities, and said that they believed that he was right around 5'10". And if you look at the video, the video is hard to watch because it's looping and the legs bent and all that kind of stuff. It's hard to tell from looking at that, in my opinion. But he's definitely not the same height as Richard Allen, in my opinion. He's quite a bit bigger than that height-wise, I think. But that's my opinion. I'm just saying.
I wonder if he could have still been out there, though, and be seen and wearing very similar clothing and been out there just like they say. But the only one captured in that video, whatever this guy was, I still think there's two people. So it's this is where I get, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to, make a, crazy rabbit hole thing, but I don't know. It's odd because you also, Sleuthy, you have, what was the girlfriend's name of Ron Logan that absolutely believes that's Ron Logan's voice saying down the hill? She seems to be absolutely convinced of that. But
I forget her name, and I don't know if she told. I don't really know about all of that. My whole thing is Ron Logan is dead. So
you go.
Like nothing, he's dead. So like, could that be why they're insistent that now that there was like no other people? Like, could it be possible that they've missed that opportunity? And like, that's the only way that I could make sense in my mind of why they wouldn't be looking for other people. You know what I mean? Is if they already knew that like they were dead. That's the only thing I can That's the only way I can make sense of it. Because if we get to trial, and so far, I haven't seen anything that suggests, except for this comment about the box cutter or whatever. Um, you know, the state has never really been firm and consistent with the thoughts that he actually killed the girls. So let's say he's bridge guy and he told them to go down the hill, and that was the extent of his involvement. And then they went down there and they died, even if he had nothing to do with it. In Indiana, that's still felony murder. But I'm not cool with not ever knowing who then snatched the girls up and then killed them the way they did and then left them the way that they did.
No, me neither. And the FBI did look at Ron Logan, and they were convinced Ron Logan was responsible. They got their search warrants, and they went and they searched and did all the things. He did lie to law enforcement about his alibi because he wasn't supposed to drive, because he was, DUIs and didn't have a license, but he drove that day. And so he lied about, how he got there. He had his cousin lie for him or ask him to. There was all these things about Ron Logan that were highly suspicious. I mean, very suspicious. And he absolutely looked like he said things and did things that were very bizarre. There's a lot of different things you can look into with Ron Logan. I know a lot of people rule him completely out because I guess, well, he's passed away now. Just for the record, he is passed away. But I never really, was it because they couldn't do a physical tie to the crime scene? Is that the only reason you decided Ron Logan wasn't the guy? Did his DNA not match the DNA you have? Or I don't, you know what I mean? There was no weapons taken from his home that could have possibly ejected that bullet out there on his property. That's a pretty common bullet and gun, right?
Yeah, I guess they just didn't have. I mean, the truth of the matter is that we don't really know, right? So, like, even with these third-party people, like, you can get mad all you want that the defense is bringing up these third-party people, but if they would have just done their fucking job, sorry, I don't know if we can cuss here, but like, if
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If you would have just did your job, then it's like nobody would, like, we wouldn't be saying,
exactly.
Like, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So when you have stupid shit like, well, they applied for and was granted warrants for these third-party suspects' phones, but then never served the warrants, like, either you are completely incompetent, which I'm having a hard time with, because a couple actions that are incompetent is one thing, but when the whole thing and very specific stuff that's related to the same specific individuals is what you seem to only be incompetent about, then I really start to question whether that's really incompetence. Okay. And so we know that they collected stuff from Ron Logan's house, but what happened to it then? Was it given to Unified Command also? Did they have everything tested? Like what became of evidence that was collected? Because it seems they missed a lot of opportunities to gather evidence in the first place. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there was chain of command issues with the bullet, different things. But again, when you look at a suspect, what led you to that suspect, and then what made you clear that suspect? Because you went through too many. It's not like there was just one suspect, the property owner where the girls were found. You're absolutely going to look at the property owner. And I hope you look real hard at that property owner, because they have the opportunity, right? They're right there. So you would expect that to be looked at. But then there was all the other people that came after that, that then you 5 years later, now we can tell you we got the guy. Really? Well, tell us. And then they chose not to do things in the light. So I'm calling bullshit. Where's Miss Barbara? She's not here tonight.
That's yeah. That's all right. We posted it in the chat for you.
Well, look, let me share this real quick for a second, and let me show you guys something in case you haven't seen it. This is Ron Logan's ex-girlfriend,
Oh
and
yeah.
this is what she had to say.
I remember him from the Inside Edition.
Liberty German shot this chilling image of the killer approaching the girls on a hiking trail, and she recorded the killer's voice.
What do you hear on there?
Nothing that I recognize at all. No one. I don't recognize the voice at all.
Wow. That's your voice. And I heard that voice down the hill thousands of times. It's Ron Logan saying, down the hill. And I called the tip line.
Joining me now, News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton. So Connie Dillman seems so confident about this. Like, what else makes her think that it's her ex-boyfriend who's the killer?
Yeah, this was a big moment tonight, actually. We've never heard from Connie Dillman before. This is all brand new. So this is something we've never heard before. And let's also not forget in all this that Ron Logan is dead, by the way, for people who are following along. He died of COVID. But she basically says that he is a bad man, that he is a violent man, that she thinks that he did it, that he was violent with her in the past. And as you heard in that clip, that when she heard that voice, she thought right away that it was Ron Logan. Listen to a little more of what she said for the first time tonight about what kind of man this is.
Ron's property was right next to Monon High Bridge. He had some pasture, he had some goats and the horses. I moved in with him for a while, and it didn't really work out very well. He was controlling with me. Had to keep the house tidy and couldn't lay down on the couch. It just had to be the way he wanted it. But he wanted me there. It goes a little bit further than me in his life. I've pretty much a sex tool. Can we stop? Can we?
Yeah, we can stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. When I didn't want to have sex, he forced it on me. And I was helpless. You know, I couldn't help myself. And when I did get away, he would always draw me back. One day, he had been working on putting a new door on the basement cellar, and I said I wanted to break it off with him. And out of the blue, he hit me over the head with the crescent wrench. And I remember taking off, running to my vehicle, and I remember falling to the ground. And I was afraid he was going to hit me again. So I was able to get on my hands and knees and I crawled away. I got to my vehicle and I was able to leave, and then I felt the blood running down my face. I barely remember the drive to the doctor's office, which is only a few miles to Delphi, and had 7 staples put in my head. But I actually went to my sister's after that. I'm lucky I got out of that situation, but it took a long time.
It really is stunning to hear her tell that story for the first time. She's out.
So, in case that's who she is anyway. And that's
Why
what,
do you guys think it took her so long to come out?
didn't say that was the bridge guy. That's always been my question. I don't know. I can't explain why people, I don't know.
I think she waited till he was dead.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe
kind
she
of what.
was scared. She could have been just scared.
Like, she told the police. That's what matters. But she didn't tell the public think because she was scared. I think she waited till he died.
Isn't she mentioned in some documents somewhere, Sleuthy? Do you
I'm
know?
90% sure she's in Ron Logan's search warrant.
Yeah. So I think that she did talk to law enforcement, but she just had spoke out. I think it was the end of last year, toward the end of last year, on this
Yeah, that's when it
on
was.
Crime Nation piece that she did or whatever. What side? What bullet was that again? Was it so that it was a 6-hour? What was it? Because it matched the pistol and
I thought it was a 9mm. I might be wrong, but I thought it was
6 hour. It was a 40 caliber. I'm pretty sure.
40 cal. Sorry. Okay.
well, that's going by. So I don't remember what was the weapons from. I got to pull up his the arrest return, all that stuff on the search warrant from the house. But there were a few weapons taken, right? Sleuthy, a few pistols from
I think he had
Allen's house, and
Allen, they only took one from Richard Allen.
they took one.
One
And that's the one they're saying the unspent bullet was ejected from, and that's based on, from what my understanding is, based on preliminary testing done by the prosecution and the police there. And as far as I know, that's it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Has the defense been able to do any testing with that bullet themselves to get their expert? Because I know there's been a lot of back and forth between what can be proven and disproven with this bullet, as far as the ejection markings and the different things that happen, and versus being fired and all that. So I don't know who their expert on that's going to be. Welcome, Joe. How are you?
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Where you going with that pew pew?
Am I not supposed to say the other word? I don't know what I'm supposed to
Oh
say.
no, I was just making a joke. No big
I'm
deal.
not, yeah, I know. I was like, I know Doodle said it in the chat. I know people say it all the time, but I'm not used to saying stuff like that. I'm used to calling it what it is. Well, so Mr. Steve, when we get to it, we're going to review what he did with burying that bullet in the yard and trying to see if there was, anything that changed with it because of the conditions and how long it was buried versus all. Because from what we understand, it was 3 days, guys. Is that what it is before it was found, or is that a
That's what my
discrepancy?
understanding was too. Yeah.
Court documents don't say, does it? I mean, it's alleged, I think.
No, I don't know when it was actually found.
Yeah, I think it's been alleged 3 days is what I've heard, and it was 2 inches under the ground. I think is in the court documents.
That came from Labredo.
Did it?
Yeah, he interviewed after.
Yeah.
He was off the case.
Yes.
Did that all come from him though? Like where it was between where the girls were laying and all that?
No, the only thing new from him was that it was it was under the ground, like it was 2 inches in the ground.
In the ground, okay.
But if you go back to say the Franks memo, they don't say that it was 2 inches, but they did over and over again say that it was in the ground.
Right, because I've got the Franks motion. We're going to be pulling that up and reviewing all that. So just under the ground, in between the girls, is where this was found. And you have to also, we just learned and trigger warning, but we just learned in these 3-day hearings, allegedly, because I didn't see it for myself or hear it, I'm going to rely on the people who were there. Libby was drug. So when was that bullet ejected? Was it before she was drug and the girls were placed near one another? Or was it when they were still separate from one another? How long it was there, and I want to know when y'all found it. Found the bodies. I don't know when they found that bullet. And there is allegedly issues with chain of command after it was found. There were even rumors that it was found by somebody out there searching, because a rando, like people,
right?
Not like law enforcement. I don't buy that. I don't know. I would hope not.
I'm still trying to understand what the whole reasoning behind loading a gun with a bullet and then unloading that gun with that bullet and then dropping. I'm trying to figure out what the whole situation would have made that happen for. That makes no sense to me in this type of a situation. I'm not sure.
I don't know why you would do it there at the
Right.
scene with the girls as opposed
Right.
to on the bridge. But let's just say that there was somebody else there that was party to the crime, and you were trying to intimidate that person into doing something at the scene, then I could understand it, but not the victims. I don't know why you would. You're over the hill at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've went up to and you're over the hill now. So you got them from where they were to where they are now. I think you've intimidated them enough. You know what I mean? You got them to go with you.
That was why I couldn't understand that. Right.
Yeah, because once they got there, according to what was said in court, things were happening to Libby that, you know, were not good at that point. But so why would you have that right there, like you're saying, at that point, unless you were using it to make the other person cooperate with what we're doing?
I never had that thought before, though. You think so? You think it's possible that somebody else that was involved could have been being pressured to do this, possibly?
Let's use us as an example. I won't use the third party people. So let's use us as example.
Okay.
It's my idea to do this, but I need you, Dago, and you often will go with me. Obviously, you're going to know where I'm getting this story from. It's obviously not me and you, but
Right.
you have been I've been like mentoring you, sort of, in a sense. You kind of look up to me. It's my idea. I get you to do it. But once you realize what we actually just did, you start freaking the fuck out.
Okay.
And I know you're freaking out. And in order for me to get you under control, to help me either move the bodies or stage the bodies or put the sticks on the bodies or just to simply not run away, I pretend like I'm going to shoot you by racking a bullet in the chamber. And you don't know any different because you don't know anything about guns. It'd be intimidating to a grown-ass adult if you had just watched someone kill somebody or two somebody's children, and then they threaten you in that way. You know what I mean?
No, that makes perfect sense. I like the way you played that too. That makes perfect sense. I get it. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting.
I think that whatever went on out there did involve two people, and I don't think one was. I think things started. Yeah, things started happening, and then maybe the other person was like, "Whoa, wait!" And then they had to intimidate.
Went too far, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that kind of that would. I could totally see that happening. Joe, do you have a thought on if there was a second person or not? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear from Joe.
Yeah. So ISP always, from day one, thought that there was at least two people and maybe up to six people involved in this. Always. And
that was said at the hearing, right,
testified to that Thursday.
Yes.
There was at least two and up to six people involved. So that's hard to just to ignore.
And if I understood correctly, it was mainly just Holman that was saying he only always believed that it was one person.
Murphy also. Murphy testified to that too, I believe.
So, but from he was ISP too. So,
and see, I've always thought this whole group thing. If we're gonna go with the Odinism scenario, the sacrificial situation, 6 people, up to 6 people makes a lot of sense because you have that group of people that are involved in this ritualistic, whatever you're going to call it, type situation. That makes a lot of sense to me, and that would make things a lot easier in the situation as well. And I can see that. I'm not saying that's what happened, that I believe that it's absolutely got to be 6 people for sure, but 2+ people.
I've always believed there was more based on what law enforcement kept saying. They kept saying there's more involved, and it's open investigation. So then when you hear that come into court, during this 3-day marathon of hearings we finally get that we should have been getting all along, then you hear it, And of course, now I know to take defense teams with a grain of salt. I know that. I'm very, very aware of that. But I have to base it on a lot more than just that with this crazy case. You know what I mean? Because there's just too many things that keep happening, and that's part of it. And I don't get it. And I do believe there's two people. I can't help it.
Can I add to my hypothetical story that I just told?
Please
Yeah.
do.
So let's say all of that stuff that I just said happened. The bullet's there because I was intimidating Dago. It would also make sense if Dago then and I stopped becoming friends because he was fucking terrified of me. And he swore to me that he would not tell anybody what I did or that he was there because I would kill his whole family. Right?
Absolutely.
And then Dago gets pissed drunk and tells people that I did it and that I'm dangerous and that you shouldn't say anything more about it because now Dago's terrified because I didn't hurt Dago, but I showed Dago what I was capable of, and I also threatened him simply with just chucking a bullet out of my gun.
That makes perfect sense. I know exactly where you were going to.
But if you're Richard Allen, I'm not scared of you at all.
If you're 5'4", I mean,
I know, right?
Doofy 5'4", like I'm sorry, but I don't want to take away from the girl, like.
So no, I get it, but if you take, okay, so if that's
half of the trial is the story, half of the trial.
But if the two people that I think my internet's acting up. I keep going in and out. I think so. I apologize, guys. I think if the two alternate players could be the people, and I'm talking about Holder and Westfall, then you got to take Ron Logan off the table, or he's one of them as well and was absolutely down the whole time.
Or he was like
something they normally would do out there in the property, hold their little things. So it was a very because Westfall, it talks about going out there in those interviews, spending time out there with his kids in nature. They go out and they do the runes and they get the things and they do these things in the woods. And so he doesn't deny that he does that stuff. Not what took place out there, but you know what I mean. And I don't have anything wrong with you going out there and doing your pagan rituals and in the woods and collecting stones and doing things. Doesn't bother me at all. What happened in the woods bothers me a bunch.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And even Messer. Like, then you have Messer, who also, and he's very underrated in terms of the information that came out about him.
Very. That's a really bad guy.
I mean, just
very
on its face, he's a
Yeah.
bad guy, guys. Like people are like, oh, well, she thought it was Valentine's Day, and they were, like all the excuses that you hear, and I'm thinking he's still a real bad dude. Like, what do you mean? He's a terrible.
There's no excuse for a guy who's a recruiter for these groups of Odinists, because that's exactly what Westfall describes him as. And Westfall was doing the same thing, and he talks about Messer a lot and the other guys, and it's crazy. And then when you hear Labredo say, in the town we see, the image on the Jeep covered of the Odin symbols, and it's real, and it's like, wow, okay. So then I wonder, well, okay, so maybe that's, small towns are small towns. You live there, you work there, you are what you are. They're all that, okay. But what went down in those woods will make them all look bad. I've often wondered, is that part of it? You can't help it. But we've talked many times about how if a cover-up occurred in Idaho 4, I'm going to use that for an example, it would have taken the Moscow PD, the Idaho State Police, FBI, all these people be involved in agreeing to do this big elaborate cover-up. Right. Maybe they did if he's an informant. I don't know. But so I got to hold the same thing true in Delphi, right? So, but I know there were issues between the FBI and the local police.
Yeah.
What went south there? Was it because they were actively looking into the Odinism because they
I think
believe
that's
it to be a
fun too,
thing.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Because I don't understand the rift between the FBI and Delphi here.
Why do most people be quiet about information about other people that those other people don't want other people to know? It's always to protect yourself, always.
Yeah.
If you think, I'm sorry, and I'm just going to say it because, and I've given the benefit of the doubt, I've transcribed all the interviews, I've thought about it every which way. In my opinion, Patrick Westphal is incredibly maniacal. He is very purposeful with his words.
Very.
And I think that it would not be a stretch for me to think now the whole he has powerful friends thing. I don't know that I like buy that per se.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell me tomorrow that he has a lot of dirt on people, I would believe that. I would believe that he would search out. So if I search out information, embarrassing information, criminal information, information that could destroy your family or your life or your business, and I purposely seek that information out to then hold over you, most people, we are what is the word, like where we're about, like we're all about ourselves enough to think that you're really actually going to tell that, and we can't have people know this, whether it's because we'll lose money or because we'll go to jail or whatever. Like, it's a very effective, you can effectively blackmail people with information only.
Yeah.
Right. And I answer that question.
Yeah.
I mean, the question that was just on screen about the box cutter thing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here, I'll go back.
No, Joe. No, because two reasons. Okay, I've worked in EMS for 17 years. Okay, first off, I don't think so, Captain. Not easily at all, because it's a razor blade in all effects. It's just a razor blade.
It's not easy to cut through somebody's vertebrae. I'm sorry.
It's not easy to cut through skin alone. All those other things. Okay. And the depth that would have to go in to cut through a carotid artery and the jugular itself, you can't. There's a guard on those box cutters, mind you guys. You can only go in so far.
This is true.
Okay, you're only gonna nick that. You could still bleed out if you nick those. Okay, I'm just letting you know, but you're not gonna cut straight directly through it with one of those box cutters. It's just not possible.
We heard in the hearings it was brought up. So did the prosecution bring up the box cutter thing in the court, in the hearings? Where did that come from? It came out of the hearings somewhere that there was,
I think so,
allegedly a box cutter, but we also heard details about Libby, and the arteries were involved, and Libby apparently was in a sitting up position at one point, had a wound to her thigh. Then
I have a
Libby,
question.
go ahead.
What does all of that have to do with, so like when the defense is putting on stuff about Ossetru and stuff like that, I can see where we're heading, why we're laying a foundation of that to then say, well, here are these people that also practice this, and that's why we brought this person to explain that, so you could recognize particular things that will then connect these people. But what was the purpose of this crime scene person? Like, a much more effective, in my opinion, expert to have had would be that guy that they already have, the state, who is like an expert on Odinism in prisons. Specifically, they know about Odinism, which is different from Ossetru.
Right.
Put that person on and have that person come in and explain why what we're looking at is not Odinism.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
This other dragging Libby through puddles of, like, I think all of that was like, I would more expect that for during the trial for like a, I don't want to say sympathy. That's not what I mean. But when you like want the jury to understand the gravity of what happened, and that's how you're explaining it, but not to keep out third party people, because all of that has nothing to do with the third party people.
No, exactly.
They did it.
Yeah, and they sneaking things in court hearings to be talked about is crazy enough as it is, but when they go and talk about the crime scene and the way it was laid out. And when I think, okay, so if she was drugged, I can see that. They needed to get her in the position they wanted her to be in to do what they were about to do next, right? Because this is if you but I also have a hard time with this crime scene because it's in the middle of the afternoon. There's a lot of daylight. There's people still rumbling around the trails. There's probably not anybody down there where they're at. Not everybody would cross that bridge. Abby only did it because Libby would do it. Abby didn't I think that might have been, her mom thought that could have even been her first time because Libby didn't care. Kelsey even said, I crawl across that bridge. Libby would go each time.
Right.
So it was not, a super crowded end of the bridge sort of thing. They were all down at the other trails and everybody starts leaving. So was it just that because there was nobody down there, they had plenty of time to do what they were doing down there? Because that's not going to be a quick. If you want me to believe that was a ceremony, that's not quick.
Also, before Joe's comment disappears and I totally forget, because I don't know if I heard this and I forgot it or what, or if it just now clicked in my head, but I don't know if you care if I read it, but he said the most relevant quote from Miss Perlmutter was, rune magic was being done with branches in the woods prior to the homicide.
Right.
The problem is, doesn't it get entered? I think he meant it doesn't get entered, but what stuck out to me was rune magic, because if you remember, back before Brad Holder did what was clearly a scrub of his social media, because he deleted one Facebook, and it wasn't to get away from social media, it was to get rid of the shit that was there that was being talked about, because he started a whole new Facebook. He was part of a group, whatever it was, I would have to look, but he was part of a group. And anyway, in December of 2016, he uploaded a bunch of PDFs, like for other people to read. And there was a variety of different things. One of them was on rune magic. Specifically, rune magic. And it had, I had actually circled or highlighted one position, because what it would do is it would not just get into like runes themselves, but it would also get into like body positions in the shapes of runes.
Yeah.
And I had highlighted one because I said that's exactly how Libby, and could Libby's body position have been attributed to having been drugged by one arm? Of course it could. But it could have also been exactly what I looked at, which was this person and their body position in the shape of
I can see dragging her but once they got her there, they still want that arm to be up. I think it was very, very intentional, especially if there was an arm up above touching the tree. That spoke volumes to me. Could it have been an accidental way the body landed once it was drugged and left? Yeah. But if it wasn't, that absolutely means something.
Well, but then I think of poor Debbie Collier, who I'll just never get over for the rest of my life, her saying that she was killed, and then them saying that she did it herself. I'll just never, ever.
No way.
But I remember thinking, that whole thing came out, and they said that her one arm was outstretched and like touching the base of a little tree. It just was very bizarre. I don't know if she was headed for water or what.
Well, another thing that came out in the hearings, and I'm gathering notes, Luthi. I saw a few of the Yellow Jackets notes on Twitter, but I still haven't read everything thoroughly through yet and tried to piece it all together. So they say there was very little blood from Abby, and most of what was found was from Libby. And Libby's body it appears that Libby was cut in the neck and her hands went up and there's blood all over her, but none on Abby.
So the state witness.
Go ahead, Joe. No, go ahead.
Witness Cicero he testified that there was significant saturation underneath Abby, and he testified that he thought that she was killed where she was found, more or less.
Right.
And there were some manipulations of her body because there was some backwards flow of blood.
Okay.
This is tough.
Salty, pull this up what I have backstage while Joe's talking about that real quick, if you don't mind. There you go. That is what everybody is saying that is issued by CBS to open boxes with, okay? That, Joe, is
That
why...
ain't gonna do what was described.
No, it's not. That's why I answered that question like that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe, but
it's all good.
That is what is supposedly company issue for, which most places do use those. That's not going to do that at all. If it was a utility knife, that's a whole different story. But this, no. Anyway, again, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to show that so everybody had a visual on that.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Joe. Thank you, Jago.
Yeah. So according to Cicero, Abby was injured basically where she ended up, and she wasn't manipulated very much after she was killed.
But what about her clothes? Did her clothes not? Oh, well, they did say in the Frank's memo that the way that she was cut would have been slower. So maybe that's why it perhaps didn't get like everywhere. But if what Cicero is saying is true, then it could still be argued exactly what Libredo said, which was that one of them was killed and one of them was sacrificed. If they took Liz somewhere else to do what they did to her in a different way and left Abby there and then just brought Libby over to Abby in order to stage them prior to, again, I still think that the shoe and the phone, that was purposeful so they would be found. You could argue that that's why they did whatever to Abby, and she was there and incapacitated, and then did whatever to Libby and then put her next to Abby. So I don't see how that helps.
Somebody had a pretty decent review of his testimony. I thought it was Turbo Time, but I might be wrong. It might have been Deb's Notebook. I felt, I don't know. I may be wrong completely because I've reviewed so much crap, not crap, but stuff the last couple of days trying to get ideas on what went down at this thing. I got a little piece too where Bob Mata went on, who did he go on? What is that guy's name? He went on there and did a little update. Hidden Killers with Tony. He went on there. We might look at that for a second. Just trying to collect all the stuff. And Joe, I know you were there, and you got good insight on what was done through the things I've missed, and Sleuthia may not quite be aware of yet either. Because how many motions were actually heard in those 3 days, guys? Do you know?
I was only there on Thursday, and it was Thursday morning was the closing motions, the closing arguments on the motion to suppress, the confessions, and then the rest of the day was the state's motion in limine, which was the third party arguments from the defense.
I want to say that Twitter account had links to all of the different motions that were going to be discussed. I'll have to go look through them and see if we can get a rundown as best we can. But so we, getting the transcripts is going to be a lot, apparently, like a lot of money, apparently. So I don't know if they'll be gotten anytime soon. But I think even if you had all the money to go pay for them, I don't know if you'd get them anytime soon or not. They seem to drag ass over there in Indiana. I'm going to check on the chat real quick and see what's going on. So other than this unspent bullet, we don't really know of anything else they have except for maybe his
Right.
car being spotted over at the.
Yeah, if you kick out the confessions, and I don't think all 61 confessions are going to be excluded.
No.
That would be nuts. But
No,
if they did, if they somehow got crazy and excluded all 61 confessions, and they excluded the tool marks, what does the state have? What do they have after
Nothing.
that?
Nothing.
The eyewitnesses.
Well, yeah.
But the eyewitnesses also place other people. Well, I guess
Well, I personally think,
younger guy there. I mean, that's
yeah.
wouldn't that's really circumstantial at that point. Even the video of the bridge guy, to me, I hate to say it, could be circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's crazy because they do consider eyewitness testimony to be direct evidence, but the problem is that the witnesses confirmed, I guess, to them, if that's true, which I'm going to assume it is, that the person in the bridge guy video was consistent with the person that they saw that day. But are any of these people able to testify that the person that they saw is Richard Allen?
Exactly.
Were they ever asked if it was
Right.
Richard Allen? Because even if they were asked if it was Richard Allen and they said no, that's something that's Brady stuff that needs to go straight to the defense.
Would they have put that out there regardless, though, or is that something that you think they'd withhold
from the public? Probably, but they would have to that to the defense.
If they were suspicious of anybody that was described to them as being on the trail that day, I hope they would look high and low and hard, and it wouldn't take 5 years to find him.
Well, that's
it
true.
would also be Brady. It would also be considered Brady material if one of the witnesses said, the guy that I saw down at the bridge that day looked like Dago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. Right.
Dago, what were you doing there that day?
I was trying to deal with my fear of heights. Is what
I won't be stepping foot in Indiana. So if anybody
Hell
tries to
no.
say they saw me, you can forget it.
Mama Bear's wanting to move out of Indiana.
It's so bad. I mean, I feel blessed to be in Florida. Even with court documents alone, my God, I get everything. In Stern's case, I can't get crap. It was hard as hell to get stuff out of Indiana for a long time. And the fact that, that PCA was sealed in the beginning for, and it wasn't what was it, a couple of days or a week or whatever it was before they actually unsealed it, let the public look at it.
Yeah.
So it started off being odd, started off automatic prison. Then the judge recuses himself, calling stuff dangerous.
Right.
And right out of the gate. And it's like, holy hell, what did we just stumble into over here in Indiana? And then lo and behold, good Lord, you can apparently do it on for judge.
It was weird right out of the gate. Agreed. Start to now.
It was. I need to take a bathroom break and grab some fresh coffee. I'm going to play about a piece that it's about 20 minutes long. May not play the whole thing. Okay. It's a little backstory on Abby and Libby because above everything, I don't want to ever get away from Abby and Libby.
Of course.
They were brave little girls. Something really bad went down that day. Why they went to that bridge, I want to. One day, I hope I find out.
We actually talked about that yesterday.
I hope they find the right people. Yeah, people. Sorry, I don't mean to throw my personal opinion out there, y'all. And I'm not trying to tell anybody what to think. Y'all make up your own minds as you see the story progress. That's all I can say. But so, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to present this for a minute and go do.
That's something to talk about too.
Yeah. Let me get this up.
Once you do that, I want to ask Joe and Sleuthy's opinions on that comment I made to you yesterday about that.
I don't know what you. Hold on, you just confused me. I don't know what you just said. So stop.
That's okay. Like I said, when you're done with when the video is done, I'll just ask them then.
Okay, no, go ahead. If you got something you want to ask them.
I remember I had asked you. I said it made me wonder because we just started. When we start talking about this, we could talk for 12 hours nonstop. But
yeah,
I had asked. Oh, Joe's gone now. I had asked, or I brought it to you, and I said, I almost wondered if that specific day that they went to this bridge, to this trail, if it was for a specific reason, not just to take a walk, if it was something that was premeditated for a different type of reason within somebody that they had spoken to possibly about something.
Well, after listening to that interview that I listened to today that Kelsey gave, I feel like something could have triggered them to want to go.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
They were going to do they were doing some filing for Becky for her business. And there was something else they were doing. They were doing some painting. They had it outside. They were set up to do a couple of things, right?
Right.
They'd already asked about going, but everybody was going to be working and busy, so they decided to do these other things instead.
Yeah.
And then they still came back and asked. So I don't know. I just, listening to her talk, I could have read it wrong. But I was like, was there something that prompted them to want to go to the bridge?
Well, almost like they were invited.
That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Something prompted them to want to go when they did. I feel like.
Yep. That's where I was going with that.
Okay. All right. Here we go, guys. I'm going to play this for a few minutes while I go and take a break real quick.
Absolutely.
Delphi, Indiana, a warm winter day, and the crime that changed everything. They meet a monster.
13-year-old Abigail Williams and Liberty German were reported missing.
She smiled all the time. Libby made people feel good.
I'm going to find who did this.
Our community is going through a lot of this with us. And we pray that today is the day.
Let's find this guy. Now, an RTV6 News special. Delphi Daughters, the untold story of Abby and Libby.
This is the old Monon High Bridge along the trails in Delphi. It's here that Abigail Abby Williams and Liberty Libby German played, laughed, explored, made memories. They were in this area on the day they went missing and later found murdered. The killer is still on the loose.
Someone out there knows something about this.
Yeah.
What do you say to that somebody?
We pray every day that we'll have peace someday. We just ask that people just follow that instinct, that gut. Even if you just have a suspicion, just call it in.
Abby and Libby did a lot together. Both girls loved music. They played the alto saxophone in their middle school band. Both loved photography and painting. The girls were set to play softball. Both shared a special friendship. It was Libby who managed to take a cell phone picture of a strange man on the bridge. He's the prime suspect.
They didn't leave each other's side. I don't know what happened out there that day. Was there was a chance or an opportunity for one to break off or split or make a break for it or whatever. But, I look at it as, two young soldiers that stuck, covered each other's back. Two best friends, I wouldn't leave my best friend's side, and neither did they.
There are no limits. Police are still looking for pieces of information. Billboards continue to alert people coast to coast not to forget the teenage girls. As people here remember the day, there was a call for a search.
Over 100 people out searching the area last night, walking both sides of the creek bank.
In Carroll County, police are set to regroup and restart the search for two missing girls.
Together, okay? That way we cover more property, quicker time.
21, copter 5. We have found 2 bodies. We are investigating this as a crime scene. We suspect foul play.
State police and the FBI have been on the scene now for several hours. A number of units and teams have been here trying to gather information.
The bodies have been positively identified as Abigail J. Williams, 13, of the Delphi area, and Liberty Rose Lynn German, 14, of the Delphi area. This is considered a double homicide investigation.
The 2 girls discovered in the woods, authorities asking for your help tonight. Their last Snapchat and the image of a man authorities would like to talk to.
And they now have enough evidence to call him the prime suspect.
We do have some new information for you today. Liberty had the presence of mind to turn on her video camera, but there's enough there that somebody could recognize this person's voice.
And if you're watching, we'll find you.
There have been more than 11,000 tips come in to our command center.
If somebody knows something, somebody has to know this person, recognize that voice.
It's not easy, and a lot of people are putting a lot of work into this, and we're hoping that the tip's there, and we're going to find it.
Right now, a tip hotline is open for you to take action. You can be anonymous. The number to call, 844-459-5786. With every sunrise, the families of the girls killed wonder if the new day will bring news of an arrest. Waiting for justice for Delphi's daughters. Aiming to master his shot, Mike Patty knows precision and practice pay off during deer hunting season.
This area down through here is some of the best hunting area that I have.
Well, you can see the hooves, the cloved hooves going in. This deer's heading that way.
The children in his family, including Libby, were fascinated by the deer tracks and other wildlife in hiding.
You can see coyote tracks there. This next season will be probably a little, it will be different because the time spent that usually you're just soaking in the great outdoors and the experience. There'll be a lot of thoughts running through my head, about the loss of Libby and how that has affected our whole family. So it'll be a different hunting season for sure.
14-year-old Libby loved the outdoors. And indoors, she was known for her chocolate chip cookies.
She was our baker. She could throw together a batch of cookies like nobody. She'd come in, have it done in half an hour, cookies laid out for everybody to eat the rest of the night.
These days, Libby's paintings, Libby's photography, Libby's skills on first base are sources of comfort. Then there's the use of sticky notes, another look into her soul.
She left me one day a note in my sun visor. I love you. Thank you for all you do for me and Kelsey. She made Christmas gifts for some of her teachers. Just kind of cute. She used, for her science teacher, she used the element table and made little blocks and spelled out teacher for her teacher.
That's cool. Yeah, she called me one day. I'd given her some money for some item at school or function. It was probably a $10 bill or something. So she called me up and said, Grandpa, with the change, can I give it to somebody else or somebody who needs something here at school? And I said, well, sure. Sure you can. So it's just the way she worked.
The Patties wanted to share these jars. They say they're filled with love. They contain messages from Libby's classmates.
Everybody was always so smiley and happy. You are a very good swimmer, and I won't forget that. And she was so sweet and nice. No.
Are we here? Susie dropped off. Did you pause this, Salty, or did it freeze? You guys can still hear me? Okay. Whoa. She must have lost internet signal. Shoot. She said she has issues with it sometimes. Okay, I'm here. Everybody dropped off. Okay, we might have to. Uh-oh. That's all right. Go ahead and check it, Salty. If it went out or something, we can always bounce it to my channel if we need to. I'm all alone. Nobody loves me. No, Salty, you're not even up here anymore, hon. It's just me. It's okay, honey. It doesn't matter to me either way. I can't share split stream because it doesn't offer that with yours for some reason. If we got to shut her down, I can start it up right away. It doesn't matter. And I can send it out and everybody can come back in. No big deal. That's a great video, by the way. I love that video. I think we're alone now. Let's tell secrets, guys. Just kidding. When I came back in, my cat was behind. Uh-oh. See if the wire, if it's hardwired, see if the Ethernet wire got popped or something. Bad kitty. Bad kitty. It was weird that yeah, all of you guys dropped off, but I'm here. Like I said, if we have to move it over to my side, I can. It's no big deal. I can set it up in a matter of seconds. I just got to get everybody to come over there. That's all. Just let me know what you need me to do, ma'am. So this one time, a banana walked into a bar. I'm just kidding. I won't tell you guys jokes. Promise. What does Pete have to do with it, Floozy? I'm just kidding. Go ahead, everyone. Okay. All right, guys. All right, I'm going to set this up right now. Everybody that's here, look for it and just come back to come over to my channel and then bring everything back up that she's got to. All right, guys. Thank you, please, and thank you. All right, Salty, here we go.
Is anyone still here? Are you guys still hanging out in chat? Okay, so if you guys are here, I don't know what happened. Yeah, it's working now. Outside real quick, and I snuck a cigarette. I come back in, the damn cat's coming out from behind the monitor, and it was like knocked offline. Everything was gone crazy. I was like, what the hell? But it came back on. So Dago's already gone, but I think he's going to be going live. I got some links still to share that I can send to him and he can present. So sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I guess the cat knocked something loose. All right, Joe, you want to head over to Dago's and chill out with us? Can you hear me?